The throne room of King Varric of the Thalran Empire smelled of polished obsidian and cold resignation. 1,000 banners hung overhead, bearing the golden sigil of his lineage. Yet beneath that grandeur, the king's gaze fell not on warriors or generals, but on his only daughter, Princess Lyra. She was thin by Thalran standards, her skin pale compared to the radiant blue of her people. Her frame lacked the muscle that defined her species, and her voice trembled when she spoke. Many whispered she was cursed, that the blood of warriors skipped her veins. For years, King Varric had hidden his disappointment, but in an age where alliances meant survival, disappointment was a luxury he could no longer afford. When the human delegation arrived on their steel starship, the king found his solution. The humans were young in the galactic stage but bold. Among them was Captain Marcus Hale, a soldier who bore scars of many battles. He had fought in the border wars, and though his people lacked the natural strength of Thalran, they carried an uncanny will. And so, before the court, King Varric declared, "My daughter Lyra shall be given to this human as bond and obligation. She is weak among us, but perhaps in the hands of another species, she may yet serve purpose." Gasps filled the hall. To give away a royal daughter to a human was unthinkable, a humiliation. Yet Marcus stepped forward unshaken. He bowed, not in servitude but in honor. "I will not treat her as weakness," Marcus said, his voice carrying a weight that silenced the murmurs. "If she stands with me, she will rise." Lyra's eyes widened. She had expected pity, chains, or disdain. But instead, the human looked at her as if she were more than the shadow she cast. The beginning of transformation. Life aboard the Endeavor, Marcus's ship, was unlike the palace. Lyra had been raised with silk garments and quiet corridors. Here, metal rang with every step, and voices barked orders across comms. The human crew eyed her curiously, but Marcus never let them treat her as a burden. He gave her tasks, not ceremonial ones but real responsibilities. She learned to monitor engine output, map star charts, and even assist in weapon calibration. At first, her hands fumbled, and her mistakes drew laughter from some of the crew. But Marcus never raised his voice. Instead, he stood behind her, steadying her trembling fingers until she learned. "Humans are not born strong," Marcus told her once as they sparred in the training hall. "We make ourselves strong. Day by day, failure by failure. You will too." Lyra, who had always been told what she lacked, felt something stir within her. When she stumbled, Marcus offered his hand, not scorn. When she succeeded, even in the smallest way, he praised her with genuine pride. Weeks turned to months. The pale princess who once hid behind veils began to sweat and bleed in the training rooms. She lifted weights until her arms trembled, ran drills until her lungs burned, and sparred against humans who never went easy on her. One evening, after collapsing on the floor, she whispered, "Why do you push me so hard? My father gave me away because I was weak. Why should I try to be more?" Marcus crouched beside her, his scarred hand resting gently on her shoulder. "Because strength isn't a gift from kings or fathers. It's a choice you make. And I see in you someone who's already chosen." For the first time in her life, Lyra believed him. The trial by fire. The galaxy, however, had little patience for personal growth. The Thalran Empire soon found itself at war with the Korth Dominion, a ruthless species of scaled marauders. The Dominion targeted human colonies first, testing the resolve of the younger species. Marcus's ship was among those sent to defend the outpost at Vera's belt. Lyra stood on the bridge as alarms blared and enemy ships poured from the void. The crew scrambled to stations, and Marcus barked orders with calm precision. She felt fear grip her, but something stronger burned beneath it. When the Endeavor shook under enemy fire, Lyra took her station. She rerouted shield power, calculated firing vectors, and relayed commands. Her once trembling voice carried authority. At one point, an explosion crippled the weapons array. Marcus ordered boarding parties to repel the invaders, and Lyra surprised even herself by volunteering. Armed with a pulse rifle, she marched into the smoke-filled corridors with human marines. The Korth warriors towered over her, their scales deflecting weak shots. Fear surged, but then she remembered Marcus's words. Strength is a choice. Lyra aimed not at their armor but at their exposed joints, where scale met flesh. Her first kill sent shock through her body, but also clarity. She fought not as the weak daughter of a king, but as a warrior who refused to fall. When the battle ended, the Endeavor floated scarred but alive. Dozens owed their lives to Lyra's quick thinking and courage. Even hardened soldiers saluted her, their respect genuine. Marcus found her in the aftermath, sitting with her rifle across her knees, her hands still shaking. "You chose well," he said softly. Lyra met his eyes, and for the first time, she felt like more than her father's castaway. She was someone new, someone strong. The return to the throne. Months later, the Thalran king summoned Marcus and Lyra back to the palace. Word of her actions had spread through whispers and reports, but Varric dismissed them as human exaggerations. When they entered the throne room, Lyra no longer hid in her silks. She wore the armored jacket of the Endeavor, its insignia gleaming proudly. Her stride was steady, her chin high. Varric sneered. "You return my daughter scarred and sullied by war. Have you no respect for royal blood, human?" But before Marcus could respond, Lyra stepped forward. "No, father," she said, her voice ringing across the hall. "He returned me to myself." Gasps filled the chamber. The weak princess who once trembled at court now stood unflinching before the throne. She recounted her battles, her choices, and the lives she had saved. Her words silenced the nobles who once mocked her. Varric's face darkened. "You presume to lecture your king." "I do not lecture," Lyra said, steel in her tone. "I show you that the daughter you gave away is not weak. She is warrior, forged by fire and choice. You may have abandoned me, but I will not abandon myself." The court erupted, not in outrage but in awe. For the first time, they saw not weakness but a flame that demanded respect. Varric slumped back on his throne. He saw the truth in her eyes. His daughter had become what he never believed she could. And it was not his hand that shaped her, but the human he had scorned. A warrior's future. In the days that followed, Lyra's name spread not as the weak princess, but as the Iron Daughter. She trained with human and Thalran alike, forging bonds across species. Soldiers followed her not because of bloodlines, but because she had stood where they stood, afraid, untested, and had chosen to fight. One night aboard the Endeavor, as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, Marcus stood beside her. "You've come far," he said. Lyra smiled faintly. "Not far enough. There are still battles to fight. And you won't face them alone." The silence that followed was not empty, but full of respect, of trust, of something deeper that neither yet dared name.